Welcome to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Intellectual Radio. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to be here once again. Wednesday from 8 to 9, you can catch the Denasha Harrison Show here on this platform, Intellectual Radio. Go to IntellectualRadio.com. Support this show to include any other show with the iHeartRadio family. IntellectualRadio.com is a wonderful, wonderful platform doing wonderful, wonderful things, not only in the Chicagoland area, but beyond the Chicagoland area. You can hear me in downtown Chicago, west side Chicago, all the other sides of town in Chicago, to include outside of Chicago and outside of Illinois. So if you're sitting on the East Coast, sitting on the West Coast, you can still listen to this podcast and any other show that's on the iHeartRadio platform. Again, feed your brain, one big family. We take care of each other here, and I'm really, really fortunate to be on such a wonderful platform that gives us the brevity to speak on things that are not only on our mind, but on other guest minds as well. We had a wonderful guest last week by the name of Tansy. I'm a little biased because, that's my videographer, but also she's a very, very talented young lady. And she has a lot of coals in the fire, so to speak. When you go to intellectualradio.com, take a look at the show. You can actually go to YouTube, catch the show from last week. All of her information is out there. Make sure that you support her and everybody else that's in that genre. When it comes to videography, photography, we have a lot of amazing artists here in the city. When I was leaving last week, I had an opportunity to bump into Michael Kennedy. Kennedy spelled, I think, Kenady. He spells his last name in a unique way. So wonderful conversation with him. Look up Michael Kennedy as well. He's an artist, got his hands in a lot of things. He's an artist and actor. So let's support that brother. He's a local here in Chicago, fellow West Sider, right? So let's support that brother and anybody else that's out there doing positive things. I would like to, again, give shout outs to all the people that are doing all wonderful things here in Chicago. Speak on some things concerning Chicago and speak on myself a little bit, if that's okay. So for all of you who continue to support me, thank you for supporting me. You can go to YouTube or go to intellectualradio.com, press like, comments. You can actually call in too at 223, well, it's 708, 708-223-8953. You can call in as well if you have any questions or comments that you want to talk about concerning the show or anything else that you got going on. So I'd like to speak about what's going on in Chicago. Right now, we got NASCAR in Chicago downtown. Wonderful event that hopefully would generate the revenue needed to be in the hands of the people that need that revenue here in Chicago. For those of you who try to get through that traffic like me, God bless you. I'm praying for you because it's no easy feat. Even though you're from Chicago, trying to navigate that traffic can be very frustrating and very hard. But for those of you who are listening on the way home, hey, just continue to push through and get through that traffic. I didn't have a huge turnaround from the time that I left work, went home, had to get here. It was a struggle. Well, my father used to call them surface streets. I had to take the surface streets to get home, but it's a good good thing for Chicago to host these different events. NASCAR is no small no small potato. It's a huge organization. For all of you who follow racing, and the fact that they're doing it downtown Chicago is a wonderful thing. I don't want to cast a negative shadow on NASCAR being in our city, but I will tell you this: I really do hope that the dollars get into the hands of those who need it for continuing to develop the blighted places here in Chicago. I hope that there's some type of contract, some type of deal that's going to make sure that all of that money goes where it's needed the most, and not just in the pockets of those who continue to host and sponsor these type of events at the expense of our city and at the expense of the people that make our city what it is. So, be patient and do your thing. For you, if you're from Chicago, you know how to get around that traffic. It just takes a little bit longer. So I talked about my videographer a little bit. Again, she was my last guest. Catch the show. I thought it was a very positive show. I think that as we support not only people in the videography world or the photography world, our artists, small business um, folks, and entrepreneurs, that there's some type of return that will come back to you. We go through a lot, and I went through a lot, still going through some things, but I'm still here, and I'm still going to push through. I got some comments from some of you who continue to support and watch the show, uh, about the difference that you saw in me then, and hopefully there's a difference today. Uh, so I want to talk about the importance of of self care, and you hear me talk about it all the time. The last few shows I talked about self care, and I think that last week was a wonderful example of me pushing through, but not really um, taking the time to stop and catch up with things. Catch up with myself. My energy level was different. For those of you who watched the show, you could probably tell that I was dog tired, and I allowed for it to show. I'm not always um, so chipper, but I try to push through, and I try to keep that energy level where I feel it needs to be, because I do believe that what I'm doing and saying here is actually communicating to those who are watching me right now or listening to me right now. So last week, I'm glad I had a wonderful guest. I'm glad we had a wonderful topic, because when I tell you that I was tired physically and mentally, there was a lot of things going on through the week, the job, socially, still got a lot of things going on. But at the end of the day, um, we have to remember how to go about the self care. So I'm gonna share a little bit with you about how I go through my self care, um, on the mental side, if you will. Um, I believe that when you want to change something, that you have to start with you. You have to start with looking in the mirror, and then you have to work your way from that mirror, whether it's in the bathroom, bedroom, living room, wherever that mirror is. You have to actually physically look yourself in the mirror, maybe have a conversation, and work your way from the inside out. Um, Condolences to the Metlin family, Dagan family. uh, my son's grandmother has transitioned as of today, and I want to give a shout out to that family. Uh, your 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 loved ones are in our prayers as always. Want to talk a little bit about that and how that correlates with self care. Not only have we lost someone uh, who made a huge impact on myself, my son, and the rest of my family. But so has others whose lives she touched, and that's one loss today. But again, I've shared with you my thoughts on what we call death, how it's a transition, and so. But that was a loss today, and her family knew that. And my son's mother's side of the family knew that it was coming for a while, and so they were able to prepare. And it's never going to be easy for those who you love when when you have a loss like that. I had a loss a few weeks ago. One of the monarchs of our family, my auntie, passed away, and before that, there was a couple other hits when it came to family business, and then the job as well. It's not an easy task to show up to 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 show up day after day to take care of the business. So the way I take care in ensuring that I stay on track is to take a look in the mirror and remember who I am, and remember what my purpose is, and to try to execute as best as I can. A lot of people talk about the book that came out, and talk about the admiral who talks about making your bed in the morning every day, getting up and making your bed, and how that's a great start. And for some people, that's easier said than done because of the things that they're going through. A lot of people's finances aren't where they feel like they should be. But again, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Some of us are too nice. Sometimes we depend on others to put those finances back in our hands after we release the finances from our hands into theirs. And so I believe that we have to take uh, inventory about why we go through what we go through. So when I look in the mirror and I realize who I am and what my purpose is and what my obligation is, that helps me continue to move forward. That helps me to continue to go and deal with the things that are day to day. Another thing that I do is I watch my thoughts, or not watch my thoughts because I can't see my thoughts, but I watch my language, and I'm very careful about what people try to pour into my spirit, what people try to pour into me concerning their conversations. I try to keep it as positive as possible so that I can stay on track and accomplish my task. Because when people come to you, they might come to you because you're that confidant, or you're that counselor, or you're that person, that voice of reason that can probably help them out of a situation that's not such a good one for them. But there's a difference between being in that role and being someone's dumping ground, being someone's trash can, where they dump everything over to you and then they go somewhere else and fill up and come to you and do it again. So you have to be very careful about what you take in. So I try my best to guard my thoughts and watch what comes out of my mouth, as well as watch what I'm putting into uh, my actions and my thoughts, because I believe that thoughts, they turn into actions. So a person thinketh, so are they, right? So those are some of the things that I do to help me move forward. I've realized that in my experiences, the more positive that you are, you feel like sometimes the more negative comes your way and tries to hit you. And I think that what accompanies your positive actions or your positive attempts is an actual plan, actually writing down your plan to to complement those positive things that you want to do. You might think of 10 or 15 different things when you get up in the morning that you want to accomplish, and at the end of the day you've probably only accomplished 3. And you try to remember all the other things that you were dealing with, but you didn't write it down, or you didn't, have that little checklist. So I always like to physically, manually go through a process to make sure that I'm hitting all the wickets, whether it's a daily task, weekly tasks, monthly tasks. um, I used to be very good with dates, and I used to be very good uh, putting things in my mind to recall them at a later time. And for those of you who have known me of late, you know that my memory is dangerously bad now. So the best thing that I can do is make that checklist, put that thing together, and follow it to the T. So those are some of the things that motivate me to continue to move forward and to continue to work towards the things that I know are not only good for me, but the people that depend on me, and the people that I depend on too. So just a little tip. I hope it helps. I hope that everybody is in the process of trying to figure out how to move in the right direction. Again, continue to support the local whatever you have going on around you. And of course, if whatever you have going on around you is not for the upliftment of your community, then you need to put yourself in a position to change it, or talk to somebody to do so. So this is the Denasha Harrison Show, 708-223-8953. You can call in. Uh, I'm going to take a quick music break, and then when I come back, we're going to continue the conversation. But feel free to call right here on Intellectual Radio.
You ain't got enough money to buy my soul. Ain't strong enough to stop me. I'm out of control. This the matrix. I'm Neo. I know that I know. I am that I am. That's why I speak so bold. On the verge of losing hope. I know where to go. Switch my style from singing vocals to magical flows. Study the streets a little closer. One with the ghetto. Got wise as I got older. Unloaded the metal. New millennium rebel. After that federal dollar. Balance the world on my shoulders. I know my soldiers will follow me to war. Cause kids still dying in the streets at war. On the block running from the police at war. With the US, this ain't the Middle East at war. With the problems in my own community.
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Intellectual Radio, 708-223-8953. feel free to give us a call. We're just pretty much having a conversation. Talked about if you just joined, talked a little bit about my guests from the last show. Talked about how to motivate and get yourself moving forward, guarding your thoughts, things of that nature. So before I move forward, I'd like to send a shout out to two of my favorite cousins, uh, Keisha and Alicia Harrison. Happy belated birthday, Alicia. I hope that you had a wonderful time. And welcome back, Keisha, from the Big Easy from New Orleans. I hope you and your family had a wonderful time. And I'm looking forward to catching up with the both of you. And as you know, you're always welcome to come on the show. And Keisha, you're welcome to come on the show and talk about your experience down in New Orleans, Louisiana. And Alicia, you can talk to us about how well your birthday went. So, shout out to the both of you. Peace and blessings to you. I love you guys, and hope to catch up with y'all soon. So, just wanted to send that shout out to family. And speaking of family, I think that family is very important. I think that family does not always fit our agenda, and we don't always fit the agenda of family. But I think it's important to really keep up with those who you care about. No matter what you're going through, no matter what they're going through, just check the pulse every now and then, just to see if they're okay. And I talked a little bit about that before as well. Just checking on folks, just to make sure that all is well beyond the regular conversation. Like, hey, how you doing? Everything good? And then you just keep it moving. Really try to feel your way around these different conversations and these different encounters, especially when it comes to your family, because you are connected to family members, whether you spend a lot of time apart or whether you are in your space in their space all the time. There is a connection that's like no other. So take the time out to fill out those relationships, and if it's someone outside your family, of course, talk less and pray more. And what I mean by that is simply this: some of us are really quick to try to solve something that doesn't need to be solved. Sometimes we just need to sit down and listen to what someone else is trying to tell us or is trying to communicate to us in more ways than just conversation, in more ways than just what you would hear. You have to make sure that you're in a position. Well, I recommend that you make sure you're in a position to do more than just listen to respond. I think that there's more ways than one to listen to understand. And sometimes you don't have to feel as if you need to react with a solution. Let a person get it out, let a person vent. And if you have, an invite to make some suggestions to make the solution better, then do your best. And if no one's asking for your opinion or solution, but they just want you to listen, then have enough discipline to sit down and do so. And I believe that a lot of us, because we're so used to solving uh, issues or giving our opinion, that it's really hard to sit and just listen. It takes some discipline to do so. But I would encourage you to work on that and work on those relationships that you deem important to you when it comes to your family. And of course, outside the family as well. I talked last time about your circles, about making sure that everybody in your circle is contributing in a way that benefits you as well as it benefits them. If you have someone that's sitting in your circle that's of no benefit to you, that's causing you stress, causing you pain, causing you anger, causing you money, causing you time, causing you all the things that you need to continue to stay on this side of life, then you don't need to contemplate what you need to do concerning that person in your life. I believe it's very necessary to execute and get that person out of your circle so that they don't affect change in a negative way for you or for the people that you care about. It's hard to not judge a situation when it comes to how others are acting, how others are um, going on about their day, about their business. But here's the thing: you can sit in the seat of judgment and judge, or you can just execute what you need to do for you. You can allow someone to be whoever they are, do whatever they need to do, They are not your concern concerning what they do and how that impacts them, how that affects them. But when it deals with you, you have a decision to bag up. You have a decision to leave the room. You have a decision to make a decision that may be better for you and that person that might not need to be in your circle anymore. Prior to doing that, make sure that your I's are dotted and that your T's are crossed, because sometimes we don't look at ourselves enough to make an educated decision about things that we feel we need solutions for in our lives. If I'm mad, if I'm angry, if my judgment is clouded and I'm not working on myself, but I'm looking at everything outside of me and I'm thinking that everything outside or feeling that everything outside of me is a problem, I'm probably the issue. If a lot of people have the same things to say about my situation or my behavior or what I'm what I'm lacking in, and they try to offer constructive criticism, and I'm feeling like everybody's against me, it's probably me who needs to make those changes and those adjustments. And the only way that you'll know that for sure is to start with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself, you know, am I in line with my principles, with what I believe in, my ethos? Am I making the right decision about me, not about the relationship, not about the interactions or the encounters that you have outside of yourself? Ask yourself, am I aligned with my values? Is this something that I know is going to be a benefit to me before I jump into the world outside of me talking to myself? If you line yourself up with all the things that you deem to be best for you, and if you've asked yourself those questions, and if those questions have come back as yeses or whatever the question is that you ask yourself, if they come back in a positive light, then now you can go ahead and look at your circle and you can start doing the maintenance that's necessary to have those healthy relationships. And again, I believe that at the core of everything, healthy relationships are important, but the healthiest relationship that you can have is not with somebody else outside of yourself. The healthiest relationship that you can have is with yourself. And there's a lot of resources, and a lot of people, you might hear a lot of people say that there's resources, there's resources, there's resources. It's really it's really difficult for someone to sit and tell you what it is that you need. Somewhere along the way, someone has touched your life to help guide you in the direction that you need to go in order to get the things that you need to have to be the person that you want to be, and to be the person that others want you to be, that mean you well. So the best relationship that you can have before you engage with others is a relationship with yourself. So when you work on self, you got that relationship on the right track. Be your biggest critic, but don't be so hard on yourself at the same time. Make sure that you're moving forward, onward, and upward with the decisions that you make. Then you engage with those other relationships. Then you can start investigating your circle. You can start finding out if your tribe or your camp, is the right tribe or camp for you. And sometimes you got to go at it alone. And as social beings, it's more easier said than done. Uh, Sometimes when we go at it alone, uh, we stop short of our goals because we feel like we're not on the right path, because the person that we feel should be with us on that path is not with us, right? So continue to go at it alone, and I guarantee you, as you continue to go on that path, even if you have to go at it alone, it may be something very, very scary, very, very intimidating. You might question yourself time and time and time again. Am I on the right path? Am I moving in the right direction? But there's something in your gut. There's something in you that's going to say, hey, you know what? Keep going. Don't turn back. Don't worry about incorporating this person with your business plan. Don't worry about adding this person or talking to this person about, those things that you're holding close to your chest. You have to go at it alone. Go at it alone, because at the end of the day, when you get towards your goal, guess what? There's somebody else that went at it alone. And then there's somebody else that went at it alone. And you guys are going to meet at the end of that at the end of that journey. You're going to look around and you're going to see how other people did the same thing that you did. That's your tribe. That's your circle. That's your camp because they took the chance, they took the risk to do what they were guided to do. So if your circle is not a huge one and you don't have a lot of people cheering for you and pushing for you, and you know what, there's that still voice inside of you that's going to help lead and guide you. And you will have the laws of attraction work in your favor once you make the decision to move forward, whether it's people around you or whether you're going at it alone. And before you can make that decision to move forward, you have to check yourself in the mirror and make sure that you're aligned, make sure that you're good, make sure that you are in order. And at that point, no matter what anybody tells you, no matter how anybody tries to throw anything at you, you'll be able to stay on your path. You'll be able to continue to not be deterred. So I want to encourage you all when it comes to relationships, whether it's inside the family or outside the family, take stock in those relationships by working those relationships. When I say take stock, for example, when we look at the stock market and we look at a stock, what does a stock do? Sometimes it gains value, sometimes it loses value. Sometimes you buy, sometimes you have to sell. Okay, sometimes you have to go ahead and hold right where it's at because more value may be added to that stock depending on what? Depending on what's going on in the environment. So, first and foremost, you have to take a look at the actual stock. Secondly, you have to take a look at how that stock can be utilized, not just for a gain when it comes to money, but how the social setting or social circle could use that stock. So sometimes you got to let it go. Sometimes you got to purchase more. Sometimes you got to hold it. So that's what I mean when I say take stock in. You have to take stock in people. You have to take stock in situations. And sometimes you have to get those people or those situations closer to you, learn more about it, look at what's going on in the environment. And sometimes you got to let it go. So it's okay as long as you're maintaining your values, as long as you're maintaining your focus, maintaining your goal, you can get through anything that anybody ever throws at you or puts you through. And I'm a living witness. I can't talk something that I don't know. Well, a lot of people talk things that they don't know. I'm not the type of person to talk about something that I haven't lived or something that I'm not going through. And the reason that I'm able to talk it is because I've either went through it or I'm going through it, but I'm going to get through. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you to do the same thing. Uh, I also touched on predatory businesses last week, and I wanted to bring a little bit more clarification to that. I again feel that we should be the guardians of our communities. And I believe that if we have the relationships that are necessary to take care of one another, be our brothers and sisters keepers, uh, take care of our neighbors, find out who your aldermans are, and you know who the leaders in the community are. We have to hold them accountable so that we can protect our neighborhoods from predatory businesses. A couple of examples of predatory businesses: grocery stores, gas stations, tow truck drivers, crooked business folks. Uh, it could be a huge plethora of different businesses out there that should be serving the community but are not. So I would encourage you all to take a look at your community services, whether it's the actual village or city, township, rural area. Look at the resources that you have at your disposal because of your community. Uh, when it comes to the community, when it comes to the officials in that community, and also when it comes to the private business folks that come into your community, take a hard look at those private business folks that come into your community and make sure that they are providing the resources that are necessary for you to have a strong, safe, uh, viable community. Very important. If I go to a gas station and I cannot use my card at the pump, not because the pump is broken, but because the owner of the gas station doesn't trust that I have the proper credentials to use this feature concerning the gas station, concerning the pump, then I should not go to that gas station. How many people have actually wish that they can pump gas at the pump, but now they have to go inside, wait in line, and it's not because the pump is broken. 9 times out of 10, it's not because the pump is broken. 9 times out of 10, it's because they do not value your dollar at their place of business to where they will make it a convenience for you to get that service. And it's the little things, whether it's the gas station or the convenience store that you go into. If there are things that are not working in your favor, then do something to make that change happen. If you're living in the city, then you have aldermen. And shout out to Alderman Moore. His office is on 79th and Ashland. Wonderful alderman. He's been doing it for a long time, and he truly cares about the community. Not that other aldermen don't, but he gets out there and he lets the community know that he really cares about what's going on in the neighborhood, and he leads from the front. So get out there and find out who's affecting change or not affecting change, and be the change that you want to see. Talk to those who are in position to make things happen for your community. I talked to my uncle the other day. I believe it was yesterday or maybe the day before. And, in the area that I live in, the block that I'm on, it's like being in the 70s and 80s. You got kids riding bicycles up and down, going across to the neighbors, jumping rope, playing tag, and it's like a blast from the past because you don't see that type of comfort and peace in a lot of our neighborhoods around. But there are good people everywhere in our communities that deserve the same type of environment and atmosphere that I have on my block. Now, the blocks are the places a couple of blocks over. They got some work to do, and so I'm very blessed to be in the community that I'm in to see the activity that I see because it's important for our children to be comfortable enough in their community so that they can care better for their community when it becomes theirs. When we become old and gray and we need someone to take care of us, those same kids that are running around that we're watching after will be able to do to do to do more for us than we can ever do for them at that time. And so I think it's very important for us to observe these type of things not not take it for granted. Not just be in our phones, not just be in our TVs, not just be on social media, working it like it's a job. And for some people, it is a job. But take a look at what's around you because what's around you is affecting you more than you think. Just like what you're paying attention to is affecting you more than you know. So, just another piece of advice about how I feel concern in my life and how I'm sharing it with you. I think it's very important to get involved and stay active. So you're listening to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Intellectual Radio. We're going to take another short music break, and then when we come back, we're going to wrap things up. Talk to you in a minute.
You ain't got enough money to buy my soul. Ain't strong enough to stop me. I'm out of control. This dimension's a meal. I know that I know. I am that I am. That's why I speak so bold. On the verge of losing hope. I know where to go. Switch my style from singing vocals to magical flows. Study the streets a little closer. One with the ghetto. Got wise as I got older. Unloaded the metal. New millennium rebel. After that federal dollar. Balance the world on my shoulders. I know my soldiers are following me at war. Cause kids still dying in the streets at war. On the block running from the police at war. In the US, this ain't the
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Intellectual Radio, 708-223-8953. Thank you for joining me. And if you're just joining the show, we're simply having conversation. We're talking about a lot of things that we feel will benefit one another. So we talking about small business right now. Before we went to the break, we were talking about community. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about business, just grocery stores, for example. Um, when it comes to grocery stores in the communities, we want to make sure that we cherish those grocery stores because in our communities we don't have a lot of them. Some communities they're actual food deserts, and they're actually dependent on nonprofits. They're dependent on food banks. They're dependent on charity from folks that that are that are brave enough, nice enough to go into these communities to assist where we have these huge food deserts. So I would encourage you, if you have a great grocery store in your community, to get to know who manages that grocery store. Find out where your produce is coming from. Find out what markets are supporting that grocery store and take a look at the different practices, and not only the practices of that facility, but take a look at who supplies that grocery store. It's very important when it comes to our health. It's very important when it comes to our legacy and helping to build community. One of the best things to build a community is a healthy place to go get your produce, other groceries, necessities, things of that nature. Uh, a lot of us who grow up with the grocery stores in our community that are doing the people justice, we take it for granted when you go to a South Austin type of neighborhood and you see that the last grocery store that they had on Maywood or Maypole that they had on Maypole and Cicero was back in the early 80s. Nothing ever came back after Buddy Bears. I think they tried to do a Jules. When you look at the Mooing Oinks that was on Madison and Cicero, right next to the bank that became a church, uh, that Mooing Oink was an icon in the neighborhood. I can remember all the commercials that I would dare not sing, but when that left the community and when all the fisheries left the communities off of the Madison area before you got to Austin going west, the people had to find different alternatives. So it doesn't make any sense to me that you would have grocery stores who can provide all the needs that a household would require, but you replace them with a McDonald's or Church's Chicken or some type of fast food spot. Not banging on McDonald's, not banging on Church's. So not trying to get your attention in a negative way, but we can work together and partner up in a positive way. But you have all these places that don't provide what households need to take care of their health, their sanitation, their dietary requirements. And so, if you have a grocery store in your community, get engaged. If you need a grocery store in your community, get engaged. If and when I say if you need one, if you're talking to your alderman, if you're talking to your trustee, continue to have the conversation. Don't busy the conversation with other things that you're trying to put on that agenda. Make sure that that agenda passes first. We need better grocery stores. We need closer grocery stores. What's going on with that land bank property over there? Instead of putting a multi-family whatever on there, how about a grocery store? So make sure that you get engaged. And if you want to know how to, you can reach me here on the Denasha Harrison Show. Hit me on the site, or you can go ahead and give me a call at 224-800-9719, and we can actually have that conversation, or 708-223-8953, and we can have that conversation. You can come on the show and ask questions of the how-tos, and we can work it out and figure it out. So God bless all the people who are actually doing the food bank work. Don't want to knock on those folks, but in order for us to be self-efficient and self-sufficient, we need buy-in from the existing businesses that have the connections to help make our neighborhoods um, healthy. And I would encourage each and every one of you to check your health in more ways than one. Um, a lot of people call healthcare sick care, right? Because the only time that you can really get some type of service is if you are sick and you're going to the hospital, if you are sick and you're trying to get treatment. But what about when you are healthy and you want to take your health to the next level? The internet and other social media platforms are so inundated with uh, quick fixes or misinformation on how to take care of your health. I always say that your health is your wealth. So you deserve to have the best health care that's available to you. And that starts with a great diet. That starts with making sure that the people that are in your community are actually in your community for your community and that they're given as much as they're taking. Um, I had Erica and the doctor. I had Erica on the show concerning the TV show component. There was a doctor there as well doing research when it comes to postnatal care. And we talked about more things besides postnatal care. We talked about your health being your wealth. And we talked about, getting regular scheduled checkups, things of that nature. But take a look at the natural way of doing things as well. Um, there's a wonderful health store off of 75th. Um, Dr. Caesar has been there for generations. I wish I had the name of his place in front of me, but Dr. Caesar on 75th, um, he's been there for decades, and um, the alternative health suggestions that he has for a lot of his patients really does people well. So if you are against, or if you are fearful, if you have some bias about manufactured medicines, then find out what the alternative to it is, that but to that is, but do something. Don't sit and not do anything about your health. Don't sit and not do anything about what's going on in your community. Don't sit and do anything about how you need to get up and get out and move forward and upward and onward. Make sure that you are doing your best to make that bed in the morning, or that you're doing your best to have that conversation in the mirror so that you can not only be viable to yourself, but viable to others, because we are not in this world alone. We actually have people that depend on us. We are actually connected to others, whether we want to be or not, we are. And because we are, we're held accountable um, for those relationships, and in some cases we're held accountable to a higher standard depending on who we are and what our call is, what our purpose on our life is. Much known, much required. So I wanted to share that, and what I'm going to end with is something that I talked about a few shows ago. Talked about undercover brothers and sisters, and somebody asked me about that the other day and asked for me to mention it again on the show. So when I talked about undercover brothers and sisters, what I meant by that was the knowledge that people hold on to but do not share, the wisdom that people have but do not give. Uh, when you pair intellect with knowledge, you have a very powerful thing that you can not only apply to yourself, but apply to others around you. So if you're being an undercover brother or sister when it comes to the knowledge game, when it comes to um, in terms of sharing your knowledge, then you're doing yourself and your community a disjustice, an injustice, right? If you have an experience that you can share with someone to make their lives easier, I implore you to share that experience. A lot of people are more susceptible than you think. There's a lot of people, especially if they're going through, they probably would hear you out if you have something to share. So when you have this knowledge, when you have this wisdom, when you have these experiences, the church calls it what? Testimonies, right? There's a reason that the church has testimony service. When churches testify, not only are you testifying what you feel God has done for you and how God has brought you through, but it's also for someone else who may be going through the same thing or going through something similar that they can relate to, in order to help right their ship. So when you testify to the goodness of what God has done for you, and I love churches when they, before they do anything, first giving honor to God who is the head of our life, and to the pastor, and to, they go down the whole roster to each and every one of you, and then they go into their testimony. It's important for us to understand that whether you're in church, out of church, your life is a testimony to somebody, because somebody's always watching you. It could be a testimony for good or a testimony for bad. If you're sitting on knowledge, you should share it. Don't dismiss those who don't have it as good as you. because you never know what experiences they went through that can be worth more than gold. It could be worth more than the money that you have or the money that you're going to attain, because it can help guide you in the path, um, guide you in a direction that will spare you from a whole lot of pitfalls, a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of situations, things of that nature. So the undercover brother and sister, they need to share that knowledge. So I encourage you, if you are fitting that description of being somebody that's undercover concerning knowledge, wisdom, experiences, things of that nature, please share. It's very important that you do. So I wanted to end with that. And I would like to say that I'm very grateful again for this platform. I'm thankful for all of you who continue to support me. Again, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of numbers, say a couple of more things, and then I'm going to go ahead and leave you to it. The number here, 708-223-8953. If the Denasha Harrison show, call it podcast, the Denasha Harrison podcast, if this is not your thing, that does not mean that on the intellectual radio platform, that you won't find something that's just for you. So take the time and take a look. Go to intellectualradio.com. Take a look at all these wonderful shows, like the show that's coming on after me. It's a wonderful show. And the name of that show is Milk and Honey. So if you got time, if you don't have time, make time. Make time, stick around, check out Milk and Honey. That might be the show for you. But whatever it is that you're going through, whatever you're seeking, understanding when you come to the intellectualradio.com platform that it's going to be something that's positive. It's going to be something that you can, what we say around here, feed your brain with. So take the time out and allow this platform to be a type of ministry for you, a type of meditation for you, a type of focus for you, a type of platform that you would be willing to donate to, not only your money but your time. Because if you don't have the money to donate to this type of show, the Denasha Harrison show, Milk and Honey, Elevated Vibes, those type of shows, then continue to listen, continue to like, continue to share, continue to talk to people about the show. If you don't like the show, talk to some people about that too. They might have a different opinion about something that they've caught that you didn't catch. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm really glad to be here as always. I think my energy level is a little different from the last week, and I'm thankful for that. So hopefully we will see you next time. If as I say, I got a little saying now, so you might hear me say that in the next couple of shows coming up. If the levee don't break and the creek don't rise, we'll see you next time on the Denasha Harrison Show. Thank you for listening and thank you for support.